Rain poured down the marble steps of the luxury hotel, washing away the tears that clung to Alina's cheeks. Her thrifted dress clung to her trembling frame as she stood before Ethan Blackwood, the man whose name was enough to silence a room. She had only meant to deliver coffee orders, not to crash into her ex-boyfriend's engagement party and face his cruel smirk. But fate had a twisted sense of humor. When her ex, Liam, sneered, still pretending to matter to someone, something inside her broke. In a desperate voice, she turned to the powerful man beside her. "Act like you love me, please," she whispered, her voice cracking. Ethan raised an eyebrow, his sharp gaze cutting through the room's murmurs. He saw the raw humiliation in her eyes, the same kind he'd once felt in his own past. "If I do," he murmured, stepping closer, "you owe me one." Before Alina could reply, his arm slid around her waist. Gasps echoed. The Millionaire CEO, known for his icy demeanor, pulled her close and kissed her forehead with deliberate gentleness. "She's with me," he declared. Liam's smirk faltered. Alina's heart pounded, not knowing if she'd just saved herself, or stepped into something far more dangerous. The elevator ride was silent except for the soft hum of machinery and the rain still dripping from Alina's hair. Her reflection in the mirrored walls looked unreal, standing beside him. Ethan Blackwood, the man whose name meant power, money, and mystery. She felt small next to him, painfully aware of her wet dress clinging to her skin, of her heartbeat echoing in the silence. When the elevator stopped, the doors opened to reveal a world she'd only ever seen in magazines. His penthouse was a cathedral of glass and shadow, stretching above the sleeping city. Everything inside was sleek and minimal: gray marble floors, black leather furniture, and a faint scent of coffee and rain. "You didn't have to bring me here," she said finally, her voice trembling. "You could have just left me at the hotel." Ethan loosened his tie, his expression unreadable. "You asked me to act. I don't do things halfway." Her eyes flicked to him, then away again. "That wasn't real. What happened back there, it wasn't real." He poured 2 glasses of water, handing one to her. "Maybe not, but it felt real enough to make your ex choke on his pride." She almost smiled, then caught herself. "I didn't mean to drag you into my mess." Ethan leaned against the counter, watching her with quiet intensity. "You didn't drag me anywhere. I chose to step in." "Why?" He hesitated. Just a flicker, but in that silence, she sensed something beneath his polished calm. "Because I don't like bullies," he said at last. "And I don't like watching people get humiliated for being less fortunate." His words made her chest tighten. "You talk like you know what that feels like." For a heartbeat, he looked straight at her. "Maybe I do." Something about the way he said it, low, rough, almost regretful, made her curious. But she didn't push. Instead, she glanced around again, feeling painfully out of place. "Your home looks like a museum," she said softly. He raised a brow. "Is that your polite way of calling it cold?" She shook her head, smiling faintly. "No, just empty." Ethan didn't respond, but his gaze lingered on her face longer than it should have. The sound of rain filled the silence between them. Finally, he crossed the room and handed her a towel. "You're shaking. Dry off before you catch something." "Thank you." Her fingers brushed his for an instant, and the air seemed to thicken. "You really didn't have to kiss me," she said quietly. "You looked like you needed saving." "I didn't ask for that." "You didn't have to." Her breath caught. His presence was overwhelming, commanding, steady, and yet strangely gentle. "What's your name?" he asked. "Alina." "Alina," he repeated, like he was testing how it felt to say it. "Tomorrow, you'll come to my office. I'm offering you a job." Her eyes widened. "What? Why?" "I don't like seeing good people beg for scraps." Her throat tightened. "You don't even know if I'm a good person." "I know enough." 3 weeks later, Alina walked into the gleaming glass tower of Blackwood Enterprises. She had become his executive assistant, though no one said it without a smirk. Rumors followed her everywhere, the poor girl the boss had rescued. She ignored them, her focus sharp. Still, Ethan made that difficult. He was distant yet attentive, cold yet kind. Every time she brought him coffee, he'd ask, "Have you eaten?" Every time she thanked him, he'd say, "You're earning it." It was late one evening when she found herself alone in the office. Ethan's light was still on. "You didn't have to stay," he said when she entered. "I wanted to finish your reports." He looked up, a small smile tugging at his mouth. "You've already proved you can handle pressure." "At the hotel?" she asked softly. "At the hotel," he said. "That took strength." "That wasn't strength. That was desperation. Sometimes they're the same thing." She stepped closer. "You help people, but you don't let anyone close." His jaw tightened. "When I was younger, people only saw what they could take. Love wasn't real, it was business." "That sounds lonely." "It is, but safe." "Safe isn't always happy," she said. He turned to her. "And what would make you happy, Alina?" "Being seen for who I am." He brushed a strand of hair from her face. "Keep pretending, Alina, because every day," his voice softened, "it feels a little less like acting." The ballroom glittered with wealth and lies. Alina's borrowed black dress felt like armor made of glass. Ethan stood across the room, magnetic as ever. When his eyes found hers, something in him melted. But before he could reach her, a voice sliced through the noise. "Well, if it isn't the poor girl pretending again." "Liam." Alina froze. "Liam, don't start." He smirked. "You think this man loves you? He doesn't. You used to beg me for cab fare." The crowd turned. Ethan's tone was low and dangerous. "You're done defending your charity case." Liam mocked. "She's not charity," Ethan said. "She's mine." The room went silent. Liam sneered. "She's using you." Ethan's voice turned to steel. "You think money is all anyone wants from me because that's all you have to offer." Liam flushed. "You'll regret this." Ethan ignored him, turning to Alina. "You asked me to act like I loved you," he said softly. "But somewhere along the way, I stopped acting." Tears welled in her eyes. "Ethan." He took her hand, pressing it against his heart. "What if I'm done pretending?" The world blurred. The lights, the people, the noise. Her lips trembled. "You shouldn't say that. Then tell me to stop." She couldn't. He smiled, faint and real. "I don't care about your past. I care about you." Her voice was barely a breath. "I was never pretending either." He leaned in, kissed her softly, and for the first time, it wasn't an act. The crowd faded, and for both of them, the story that began with a lie ended with truth.